Good evening. Welcome to a special report of Talk with Antonio. I am your host, Antonio. Well, today is September 16th, 2025. I know I'm a little bit late because I've been busy and such, and I just didn't have time. I'm preparing myself with another job that I have, but I wanted to address this. I was supposed to talk about I already announced it on my Instagram that I was supposed to talk about Hulk Hogan, that there's a strong rumor that he died of medical malpractice. That's going to be postponed until the coming week because right now I have to talk about the special report about the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Well, let's talk about who was Charlie Kirk. Well, he was born Charles James Kirk. He was an American right-wing political activist, author, and media personality. He co-founded the conservative organization Turning Point USA in 2012 and was an executive director. He published a range of books and hosted The Charlie Kirk Show, a talk show radio program. In his later years, he became recognized as one of the most prominent voices of the MAGA movement in the Republican Party. He was born in Chicago, in the suburbs of Chicago, Arlington Heights and Prospect Heights. He briefly attended Harper College before dropping out after one semester to pursue political activism full-time. He worked with various donors to fund TPUSA, rising to prominence via college campuses, debates, held at his signature Prove Me Wrong table. He extended TPUSA's influence through initiatives such as Professor Watch List and mass rallies aimed at young voters, and has been credited with generating interest in political conservatism among American youth. Under his leadership, the TPUSA developed several affiliate groups, including the Turning Point Action and Turning Point Faith, with the latter aimed at mobilizing religious communities around conservative issues, initially critical of the evangelical right. Kirk later shifted to Christian nationalism, advocating a Christian form of government and Christian population. He sent buses of students to the rally that led to the January 6th United States Capitol attack, for which he pleaded the fifth before the January 6th committee. Doesn't surprise me. You know, it's funny. Before all this fucking shit happened, I knew about this guy right here. I'm gonna. I will say this. I will try to be as respectful as possible, although that's very unlikely. But I'm not gonna say. Okay. I'll be frank. I'm not gonna be respectful towards the guy, but I will say. I will comment something later on towards the end of this episode. He was killed at in September 10th, 2025 in Orem, Utah at a university. The video that's been circulating around the internet, he was shot in the neck, right in the aorta. He was just like saying about gang violence, and all of a sudden, boom, the shot just went through his aorta, and you can see like the blood just spilling out. You can hear like, "Oh, Charlie," and you know it's funny that this guy right here was probably, in my opinion, ladies and gentlemen, one of the worst human beings of all time. Oh yeah, sure, to the MAGAs and also to fucking Donald Trump, he was a patriot, and to anybody, this guy right, he just went to he always chose he always go to colleges to debate people, like young people, just like to fucking chew them out and spit them out. He never really debated like strong people. Like when he went to England, there's various videos on YouTube when he tried to debate people in the United Kingdom, and these people just fucking roasted this guy. And you know, it's funny how he came to rise by just going to colleges and just fucking just chew these poor students out and all that stuff. And I don't know. I always seen videos of how he actually debated all these young people who had no experience in debating, and he just fucking be always acted like the complete fucking turd that he was. You know, it's funny here. I'm reading about his life. It says here that he was born in the suburb, as I said before, the suburb of Chicago, Arlington Heights, Illinois. And it says here that his dad, Robert W. Kirk, is an architect who was involved in the construction of Trump Tower. Doesn't fucking surprise me why he became a fucking Trumpy. His mother, Kimberly, is a former trader at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange who subsequently worked as a mental health counselor. Kirk later described his parents as moderate Republicans, and his father donated to Mitt Romney's 2012 presidential campaign, raised him in the Presbyterian Church, Kirk was a member of the Boy Scouts of America and earned the rank of Eagle Scout. It says here that during his time in middle school, he read books, Economist by Milton Friedman, to which he attributed to political awakening. And it also says here that in 2010, during his junior year at Wheeling High School, he volunteered his successful U.S. Senate campaign of Illinois Republican Mark Kirk. No relation, by the way. It says here in his senior year, he created a campaign to reverse a price increase for cookies at his school. He wrote an essay for Breitbart News alleging liberal bias in his high school textbooks to what led his first media appearance on Fox Business at age 17. He applied to the United States Military Academy at West Point, New York, but was rejected in 2012. He attended Harper College near Chicago, but dropped out after one semester to become a fucking turd that he is, a so-called debater. You know, it's funny how every time, like right now, the news media, all they're talking about is Charlie Kirk this, Charlie Kirk that, especially the right, like Fox News. You know, it's funny how what really, really baffles me right now is that the United States of America has gone down so far down the toilet that literally they put the flags half-staff just to ring tribute to Charlie Kirk. They bring tributes at fucking football games. I believe there was I think it was a Dallas Cowboys a game. They put Charlie Kirk, the face of him. They plastered Charlie Kirk, the year he was born, the year he died, and even Yankee Stadium. Like really, and you know it's funny how specifically, you know, like when I saw that they were putting like the memory of Charlie Kirk in an NFL game, especially the Dallas Cowboys, it just really pisses me off how hypocritical people are. They bitched and complained that Colin Kaepernick, one of the a great quarterback, was blacklisted. It still is. I don't know if he still is, but was blacklisted by the fucking NFL because he protested police brutality. And yet people, even like people with Trump saying, get that, he used to say it, and I quote, get that son of a bitch off the field. And other people, just because they took players took a knee, and then the white people would say, oh, don't do that and all that. But yet somehow when Charlie Kirk died, well, let's put the flags half-staff. And you know it's funny how they didn't do that. They didn't bring any tributes. They didn't, like, especially when they killed those two Democrat senators from Minnesota. No one said a damn thing. Even Trump fucking joked about it. And the only person who actually went to the funeral and paid their respects was President Joe Biden. He was there. He paid tribute, and he didn't make a joke out of it. And you know, and also when President Biden was diagnosed with prostate cancer, Trump said, oh, I have no sympathy for that. And everyone was we're just poking fun at President Biden, said they didn't give a fuck if he died. But yet somehow, when Charlie Kirk died, say, come on, show some compassion. Do you think you motherfuckers, MAGAs, did you guys show compassion for Joe Biden or even for these Democratic senators who got killed in Minnesota? Did you? No, you fucking didn't. So you are the last people on earth to be asking for sympathy for this fucking turd right here named Charlie Kirk. And I don't give a fuck if you get offended by that. It's just like right now, the news media is just, everything is this, just like they don't fucking shut up about that. And you know, it's funny how people like Laura Loomer are saying that he was a great patriot. They're comparing this guy to the late, great Martin Luther King. How fucking dare they? You know, it just really angers me that these people live in this fantasy land that they compare Charlie Kirk to the Martin Luther King. I'm like, I don't know, that really, really fucking baffled me, you know. And this guy right here, he was always a fucking shit stirrer. And because I remember when the husband of Nancy Pelosi was attacked by this guy with a hammer, he was attacked by this dude with a hammer. And then this dude went on the show just to say, oh, let's free them because he is a patriot because of what he did. He actually was poking fun because of what happened to the husband of Nancy Pelosi. Even Trump was poking fun, making jokes about that. Both Trump and Kirk were all fucking shit stirrers after what happened to the husband of Nancy Pelosi. But mind you, I am no fan of Nancy Pelosi whatsoever. But what happened to his husband, that's a different story. But yeah, these two fuckers right here, Kirk and Trump, were just making fun of this guy. And you know how this guy always fucking ran his mouth of DEI this, DEI that. And I remember watching when President Biden nominated Ketanji Brown, I believe it's Justice Brown, and this guy said that she is a DEI hire. Really, dude? Okay. If you want to talk about DEI hires, you should look at this fucking administration. For example, this fucking pathetic drunk Pete Hegseth, whatever his name is. I don't give a fuck about this fucking drunk. That right there is a perfect example of a DEI hire. None of these people in this administration have experience in anything. Even this fucking cockeyed Kash Patel doesn't even have experience in anything like that. But yet somehow Kirk said that Justice Brown was a DEI hire. According to this dude, he nobody was ever good to, in his eyes, no one was ever good in the previous administration. But for this guy, in this administration, everything is great. Everything is all. But yet somehow right now unemployment is high. Everything is going down. There's signs of there could be another recession. And there's also right now the inflation is up again. But yet somehow, oh no, when it was President Biden, the inflation was up. Everything was being, Trump, President Biden is doing this and all that stuff. And Biden was a dictator and all that stuff. And right now, inflation is up again, but yet somehow that's okay. And Trump goes on TV saying, everything has gone down because of me, gas price. No, none of that shit is fucking true. But according to MAGAs and to Charlie Kirk, everything that Trump is doing is good. Look, I'm not saying that President Biden was a good president. I'm not saying that he was he was okay in my opinion. But for this dude and this little group of people to say that President Biden was a dictator, I mean, are you serious? Why? Show me evidence of this guy being a dictator, President Biden being a dictator. This guy right here in power right now, he is a fucking fascist pig. He's weaponizing the Supreme Court. He's using right now, he's trying to invade other cities that are run down by quote-unquote criminals. Like right now what's happening here in Southern California with fucking ICE. He said it was going after criminals when in reality the only people that are going after are people who are here illegally, and they're running out. They're not even running out of criminals. They're only running out the people who are like just here illegally, just working, and yet somehow they get arrested and they get like treated like fucking criminals. Trump right now is weaponizing everything in this country. And also right now, after what happened to Charlie Kirk, that little pathetic little man named Marco Rubio, that right now, if people right now making all these comments of Charlie Kirk who was being killed, a lot of people are celebrating because of that. And right now, people say that this guy says that if you are making fun of Charlie Kirk, we're going to take away your visas or your passport. Number one, you can't take away a U.S. passport, dude. You're just a little. You learn all this fucking shit right now from that guy who's in power, that cholesterol orange shitbag, you know. And it's funny how this guy had a 3-hour radio talk show host, the Charlie Kirk Show, on Salem Media's Group The Answer radio show channel. He hosted it from October 2020 until his death. And it says here that his podcast was downloaded between 500,000 and 750,000 times a day in each day in 2024. And it says here that as of December 7th, 2021, the Charlie Kirk Show was the 21st most popular podcast on Apple Podcasts. It says here that Kirk's Turning Live Point was a 3-hour streaming show aimed at Generation Z. TPUSA's monthly online average grew to 111,000 unique visitors in 2021. It says here that in February 2022, Brookings Institution study found that Kirk's podcast contained the second highest proportion of false, misleading, and unsubstantiated statements among 36,603 episodes produced by 79 prominent political podcasters. Look, okay. This is something that I want to talk about. My podcast is variety. It's not right now. Yes, I am focusing on political stuff. I am focusing on other things like what's going on with wrestling and many events, you know. But look, I'm not like as I said before, ladies and gentlemen. This is I don't consider myself a political podcaster. I just talk about what's going on right now. But for this guy right here, I've listened to a couple of his shows, and it has a lot of it just says a lot of misinformation. There's another very well-known political podcaster. I forget his name, but he was a former MAGA supporter who turned now into a liberal one, and he fucking just shuts people off. But Charlie Kirk, I forget the dude's name, but he's very popular on the left wing side, and Charlie Kirk never tried to debate him. He never wanted to debate him. A lot of people, even the people who showed up at his debates, asked him, Charlie Kirk, why don't you debate him? And he always avoided the question, because in that aspect right there, if Kirk did not want to debate him, that to me shows that he was a fucking dickless coward, because he always went to universities just to debate people who were just like, had no experience, just like he just chewed them out, spit them out. And the one thing I've noticed with Charlie Kirk is that he said a lot. He became rich by spreading misinformation, by saying a lot of things that were fucking racist and hurtful. And I don't care if people disagree with me. This is my opinion. I'm just saying what I saw and heard. And I just remember, I believe it was my mom who showed me a video of this young lady who was born in the United States and she was of Mexican descent. And this dude right here said, you're not American. Yeah, I'm a natural born citizen, but you're from other. Just go back to where you came from. That right there is just a fucking racist statement right there for this fucking turd right here. You know, I don't know. It's just like whenever like right now the media is just this Charlie Kirk that. I'm like people are just sick and tired of hearing. Like me personally, I'm just sick and tired of hearing about that dude. Yes, what happened to him sucks. He didn't deserve to die like that, you know. Okay. Did I like him? No, I didn't. He was an awful human being. And I was having a talk with who she is a very dear friend of mine, who I love her very, very much. Yes, we are on the opposite sides of ideologies, but we can come to an agreement. But it doesn't matter what ideologies we have, but we can always come to terms that we're very good friends. And I love her very, very much. She's a very dear friend of mine. I posted a lot of things on Instagram in regards to this guy right here, and she was surprised, you know. And I just told her that I just was never a fan of this guy, and she was like surprised that I said all this stuff. That was horrible stuff. Like you should feel for his family. Look, I understand what she feels, but me personally, I never cared for the guy. I don't even care for his fucking wife to begin with. The only thing that I feel for are for his kids. That's pretty much it. But for his wife and him, no. I just feel bad for his kids. And also, in my Instagram page, I did posted the video of how Charlie Kirk got shot. And you can see like the bullet just penetrating his neck, and on the left side of his aorta, you can see the blood pouring out. I also got messaged by who was another dear friend of mine, and she actually begged me to take it down because of what happened to her dear friend. And she said that she had a hard time sleeping because of what happened to him. And we had a long talk. And this is what she said to me. Let me read, because this was sent in my Instagram direct message. Give me 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. 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 She said to me, I beg you, please take that video down. And I said, what happened? I never meant to offend her. I never meant to offend anybody personally. She says that she was physically shaking. She was so disturbed that she couldn't sleep. And I was like, oh shit, I never meant to do that. And she said, that's someone's son and someone's father sharing such disgusting images and make it easier for the children to see. He might not be an ideal victim, but his family are. Don't get so drawn into the anti-MAGA shit that you forget your own humanity. And that's something that I do understand what she said. She really made me think about that. And she said that you're better than that. And that's something like I completely understand. And she explained to me that that's what happened to one of her dear friends. And you know, she said something that she posts, like, she's very, very left wing, and she posts images of what happened to the people in Gaza and the people of Palestine. And I've seen the images that she posts, and it's pretty fucked up. You know, what happened to the people of Palestine because of what's going on with the fucking regime of Benjamin Netanyahu. And this is what she wrote to me, and I quote: "I know I post upsetting images of Gaza, but only because the people of Palestine want the images out there of the parents themselves are sharing the images of their dead babies to plead for help. I don't know, maybe it's my complex PTSD, but I kept replaying that. But I told her straight out, the images of Gaza does not upset me at all, because it's the reality of what's going on in the world, and especially right now what's going on with the regime of fucking Netanyahu." And also she said this to close the subject on this guy: "I want to be clear. I hated this man and what he stood for on his views on Palestine, on gun control, disgusting, and would laugh if a motherfucker walked over and rocked his shit, of course, but no gun crime is okay." Okay. This guy also kept saying that he didn't believe in Palestine. He was also a staunch supporter of Israel and Benjamin Netanyahu. You know, I'm not anti-Semitic. You know, I have never been that. But I don't know what it is about the United States of America, and especially with Republicans. Like, they complain and they bitch and complain that the United States gives too much money to the country of Ukraine. But yet somehow they don't bitch and complain when giving money to Israel, especially right now with this fucking regime of Netanyahu. I never understood that. What's up with that, you know? What is it that this country has to give money all the time to fucking Israel, you know? I never understood that, you know? It just really baffles me. Like I said, I'm not being racist. I'm not anti-Semitic. I'm not none of that. But it just really pisses me off that this country gives way too much money to that country. I don't know what it is. Maybe Israel knows. Maybe that Israel knows that the United States has a skeleton in its closet. I mean, every country has skeletons in their closet. You know. And it says here that on the wealth, it says here that prior at the time of his death, he was worth at least $12 million. He raised his salary in his nonprofit company, Turning Point for USA, from $27,000 per year to over $400,000 per year by 2021. It says here that his wealth was amassed by various public speaking engagements, media contributions, book sales, and real estate. It says here that Kirk reportedly charged between $50,000 and $100,000 for live speaking events, and $10,000 to $20,000 for virtual engagements. Kirk's company, Turning Point, gained financial momentum after 2016 once Kirk became politically allied with Trump, embracing his political campaign, and afterwards contributions to Turning Point accelerated. It says that according to public tax filings by 2022, contributions exceeded $79 million. Can you fucking believe that? And it says here that Kirk's real estate portfolio consists of 3 properties, including a $4 million stay in Scottsdale, Arizona, and a beachside condominium in the Florida Gulf Coast. But you know, that's also like the one thing that really bothered me. That he always went to universities and says, "Oh, Marxists and all that stuff." He people like that always spew that fucking word, Marxist-Leninist. Like, they don't even know the definition of Marxist-Leninist, because that's all they were always taught, that's evil. And look right now, like, and with his Christian beliefs, all that fucking shit is like the total opposite, you know? He fucking weaponized and used religion to act like the complete asshole and bigot that he was. It also says here that he was an evangelical Christian It says here that Kirk was described as a secular and critic of religious influence on politics and the state, but when he became a nationalist, he now changed his views. It says here that he was influenced as events such as Trump moved of the American embassy from Israel to Jerusalem and the COVID-era churches closures, which he and his allies portrayed as religious persecution. Give me a fucking break. According to like people like that, like when they say that religious persecution, no religion is fucking persecuted. They always use that as to act like the so-called victims, you know. It's like the Jehovah's Witness. They say they're all they're persecuted. Christians say they're persecuted. All religions say they're all being persecuted. But I've noticed that I have like this strong dislike towards the Christians and like the evangelical, like these MAGA right wing Christians. I have a dislike towards that. You know, he says that he advocated for creationism, arguing that evolution is false and that Charles Darwin has been debunked. Okay. If evolution is false, how come there hasn't been proven with creationism? The creation, in my opinion, there's not enough evidence for that. Evolution has more facts than creationism, you know. And you know what, people, they always they always use the Bible as fact. That book is just a book filled with fantasy. It's all like none of that shit is true, because I was a former believer once upon a time. None of that shit is true. And you know, it's funny how people like him and also like people like Marjorie Taylor Greene say that they want to make this, and not only like this, what is it, on a Maria Luna, whatever this crazy bitch that she is, she wants to make this country a Christian nation. The United States is not a Christian nation. This is a secular nation. There's no official religion, but yet these people who are in charge right now want to make this a Christian nation, when in reality it's not. And if you want to talk about people who are frowned upon because of what they believe in, is atheists, in my view. Like, you know, I've seen people who are staunch hardcore atheists, and yet they get looked down upon. Why? Just because they don't believe some imaginary being in the sky? If you want to talk about people who are like looked down upon, are atheists, just because they believe more in science and more in facts, and they believe more in science. Like me personally, I think science. I'm sorry. I take it back. I believe strongly in science, but yet people like Charlie Kirk, they thought that science was false, and they all thought that. That Christian is everything, you know, like creation is facts, you know. And it says here that he also says that he kept the Jewish Sabbath. You know, it's just like all that stuff that he said, like all the stuff that he kept spewing. And to me, he was not a good human being. He made all this money just being a religious, bigoted asshole that he was. And you know, it's funny here that it says here now, speaking upon it on the killing here, it says here on September 10th, 2025, while on stage at a Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah, for a TPUSA event, the American Comeback Tour, he says here that he was fatally shot in the neck. The shooting took place at 20:23 p.m., around 20 minutes after the event began, in front of an audience of about 3,000 people. It says here that immediately before shot, Kirk was debating on the mass shootings in the United States. Hunter Kozak, a Utah Valley University undergraduate student, do you know that how many mass shooters there have been in America over the last 10 years? And his last words were, counting or not counting gang violence. It says he was shot, and you could look it up on YouTube. I don't know if they took it down or look it up on Blue Sky or Twitter. It says here that when he was taken to Timpanogos Regional Hospital in critical condition, and he was pronounced dead later in the afternoon at the age of 31. It says here that the FBI agent described the investigation in its early stages and encouraged members of the public to come forward with information. Authorities arrested the suspected shooter in Washington, Utah. on September 12th, 2025. And it says here that the guy who shot him, Tyler Robinson, charged with murder. They want to seek the death penalty. And it's funny that this dude who killed Charlie Kirk was turned in by his dad. And this dude, Tyler Robinson, is 22 years old. It says he appeared in court for the first time after being arrested on suspicion of fatally shooting the conservative activist on September 10th. It says there that he was, and also it's been very well known that he was turned in by his father. And I was like, oh shit. And he was shot, and he was shot, pronounced dead, and this dude was. Yeah. It says here that the reactions following the shooting, Trump called prayers for him on Truth Social. Several prominent figures from both parties, mind you, both parties, including former President Bill Clinton, fucking Bush, President Obama, and President Biden, they echoed the sentiment, as did international heads of state. And it says here that internationally, several vigils were held in honor of Charlie Kirk outside of local U.S. embassies. The vigil in Vienna, Austria, was attended by the youth wing of the far-right Freedom Party of Austria, as well as right extremist activist Martin Sellner. It says here that some politicians responded to the shooting by linking it to a broader political debates. And, it's funny how the Republicans always like to point fingers at the left. It says here that they have accused liberals of, quote, inciting violence with rhetoric, unquote. While Democrats have used the event to further discussions of gun control legislation, far-right activists like Laura Loomer called for violence and revenge in the aftermath of Kirk's killing. It's funny how this fucking twat is always like to fucking stir up shit. Look at her Twitter. All she ever does is just fucking spew a lot of she just regurgitates the fucking words that Trump says, and she's just another shit stirrer. And there's a video here when Trump came out, and this is what he said. Give me 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. One moment. Okay, this is what happened 6 days ago, hours after the passing of this dude. Here's Trump speaking.
To my great fellow Americans, I am filled with grief and anger at the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk on a college campus in Utah. Charlie inspired millions, and tonight all who knew him and loved him are united in shock and horror. Charlie was a patriot who devoted his life to the cause of open debate and the country that he loved so much, the United States of America. He fought for liberty, democracy, justice, and the American people. He's a martyr for truth and freedom, and there's never been anyone who was so respected by youth. Charlie was also a man of deep, deep faith, and we take comfort in the knowledge that he is now at peace with God in heaven. Our prayers are with his wife, Erica, the two young, beloved children, and his entire family, who he loved more than anything in the world. We ask God to watch over them in this terrible hour of heartache and pain. This is a dark moment for America. Charlie Kirk traveled the nation, joyfully engaging with everyone interested in good faith debate. His mission was to bring young people into the political process, which he did better than anybody ever, to share his love of country and to spread the simple words of common sense. On campuses nationwide, he championed his ideas with courage, logic, humor, and grace. It's a long past time for all Americans and the media to confront the fact that violence and murder are the tragic consequence of demonizing those with whom you disagree day after day, year after year, in the most hateful and despicable way possible. For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today, and it must stop right now. My administration will find each and every one of those who contributed to this atrocity and to other political violence, including the organizations that fund it and support it, as well as those who go after our judges, law enforcement officials, and everyone else who brings order to our country. From the attack on my life in Butler, Pennsylvania last year, which killed a husband and father, to the attacks on ICE agents, to the vicious murder of a healthcare executive in the streets of New York, to the shooting of House Majority Leader Steve Scalise and 3 others, radical left political violence has hurt too many innocent people and taken too many lives. Tonight, I ask all Americans to commit themselves to the American values for which Charlie Kirk lived and died, the values of free speech, citizenship, the rule of law, and the patriotic devotion and love of God. Charlie was the best of America, and the monster who attacked him was attacking our whole country. An assassin tried to silence him with a bullet, but he failed, because together we will ensure that his voice, his message, and his legacy will live on for countless generations to come. Today, because of this heinous act, Charlie's voice has become bigger and grander than ever before, and it's not even close. May God bless his memory, may God watch over his family, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
More breaking news here tonight. New clues.
Y'all heard that, right? This dude right here just immediately started blaming like the radical left, when in reality that was further from the truth. This dude, the family of this dude, Tyler Robinson, they're all hardcore Republicans, and they were all from Utah. So how can this dude be from the left, you know? It's like I said, Trump, Laura Loomer, and now, you know, it's funny how they transported the body of Kirk in Air Force 2. Right now, like fucking J.D. Vance is trying to like suck up to the family. Now this dude right here is hosting Charlie Kirk's podcast while being the so-called vice president. You know, it's funny how they use Air Force 2 with the taxpayers' money, you know? That's my money. That's my mom and dad's money. That's my brother's money. There other people like who are hardworking. The tax money are using my money to fund to travel to take the body of this dude on Air Force 2. You know, how is that fair? You know, but yet somehow that's permitted. You know, that's allowed. You know, just because he's Charlie Kirk. You know, and as I mentioned, there's like a lot of people from the left, and both right and left, they were condemning the death of this. But there's been rumors going around that this guy was a Nick Fuentes sympathizer. Because I know I'm actually baffled that both Kirk and Nick Fuentes did not get along with each other, even though they're like, I would say they're both two peas in a pod, because they think that way. They think the same way. And this is what Nick Fuentes said. There's a video right here that's been circulating right now. One moment.
Where we did agree, we had our disagreements. Where we did agree is that he would go to these college campuses and proclaim the name of Jesus Christ. And ultimately, that is why he was killed. The gunmen that killed him, they hated him because of his defense of Christian morality.
That's September.
Charlie Kirk cannot call himself a Christian
this
anymore.
Is in August.
Sorry, you forfeited that. I do not want to hear, and you cannot allow Charlie Kirk to go to one more public event, one more question and answer.
No, sorry about that. But you know, that was then later on August of 2025. You know, but there's like you know how people like to spread around rumors, and like, especially in this age of social media, that this guy was a Nick Fuentes sympathizer. Is there? All I can say is, I don't know. And like right now, since they're trying to prosecute the death penalty because of what happened to this guy, it's just they're all like, like they're all trying to promote violence, and they want to like get back at the Democrats and all that stuff. It's just like I said, like people like Laura Loomer and all that stuff, fucking all a bunch of shitsters and all that. Like, and it's just like, ugh. Laura Loomer right here is just another far-right activist, conspiracy theorist. Doesn't fucking surprise me. And just an internet personality. And she's fucking ugly, clueless fucking twat. It's funny how she likes to poke fun at Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, when in reality she's much more attractive than this fucking cunt right here, Laura Loomer. Fuck this bitch. And I don't know. It's just... Like right now, all I can say is if I don't know, it's funny that sorry if I stay quiet. It just really baffled me that like Trump ordered the flags at half staff. Out of respect for this guy. I don't know. It just really baffles me. But yeah, he didn't do the same thing for these Democrats who were fucking killed by this one of his fucking people, the same people who believe all this fucking trash that he spews. But yet somehow he didn't say anything. He completely ignored them and just even poke fun at that, But just because Charlie Kirk was a patriot, like he says in the video, order half staff. Give me a fucking break. I don't know. It just really baffles me, ladies and gentlemen. But I will say this though. As I said this to my dear friend. Okay. She was baffled because of what I said. She said to me that I wasn't like negative. I was always negative on my Blue Sky and my Twitter page. But as I said before, okay, I hated this guy for what he stood for. Just like like one of my other friends says, we both hated what this guy stood for. He like people who are shedding tears for this guy. Especially like people who think like him. Of course, they're gonna shed tears for him. But if I were in front of them, I would like to ask them. In my opinion, Charlie Kirk was no fucking saint. He hurt a lot of people, especially with all the fucking shit that he spewed out, the stuff that came out of his mouth. He hurt a lot of people. And before people shed tears for him, I think we all should remember that, He was not a decent human being. He was a fucking scumbag. And I have a picture right here, especially after what happened to, what's his name, George Floyd. Let me see. This is what he said. These are his fucking words. I don't care that he's dead. He's not a hero. He's a scumbag. He shouldn't be celebrated. Those are his fucking words on George Floyd. And I said, and I quote, how the tables have turned. Charlie Kirk is no hero and definitely should not be celebrated. And this dude was a bigger scumbag. That's just the way I said it, And this guy said that George Floyd was no hero. Motherfucker, you were not a hero either. You're not even a fucking civil rights civil rights. Get the fuck out of here, And the MAGAs right now are glorifying this guy like he was the greatest of all time. When in reality, no, he was just a less than human, And he also said before this dude was capped. Taylor Swift announced of his engagement to this NFL player, and then he went on his podcast saying that now Taylor Swift should be submissive and obey his husband, like typical misogyny, out of touch pig that he was, saying all that fucking shit, And no woman, in my opinion, should be submissive like this dude said, But like I said before, Charlie Kirk was no saint. The only I don't feel other for his why I have no comment. I kind of don't feel sympathy for her, but the only people that I really feel for are for his kids. That's pretty much it. He was not a good human being. He hurt a lot of people with his comment. All the shit that he spewed out, he hurt a lot of people. And I don't think people should shed tears for this guy. But I will say this, as I told my friend, I didn't wish death upon the guy. No, I didn't. I swear on everything that I love that I did not wish death upon the guy. Because I never said that. Yes, I did say a lot of fucking shit to him in my social media pages. But did I wish death upon a guy? No, never did. I never did said that. But there's an old saying also. There are consequences for your actions. And he always celebrate all this fucking bad shit. Like right now, especially what's going on with ICE. He actually advocated for that. He celebrated that. Especially that's the one thing that really is like really hitting a nerve right there in regards to ICE. Kirk celebrated that shit, you know? And he had like this anti-immigrant. He was, like I said, he was anti-immigrant. He was anti-everything. He was like the one thing that a human being should not be. And yet somehow this guy made all this money by being the fucking asshole he was. Because I don't have sympathy. Like I could not stand the guy. But like I said before, I never wished death upon him. But yet somehow, like when all the stuff that he said, people say, "Oh, he's exercising his free speech." All the stuff that he said, he was exercising his free speech. And I remember Ava Raine, the daughter of The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, said this, and yet they're criticizing her. They criticize her, and they send death threats to her, all because she said this, and I quote, "If you want people to have kind words when you pass, you should say kind words when you're alive," unquote. And she's right, you know. What did it take to be a decent human? This guy took to be a decent human being, because he wasn't. And then she said, "I'll stand behind this." And yet somehow she was criticized for that, you know. And I said this, I said this and I'm using the exact same words that they used. And I said she is exercising her right for freedom of speech. That doesn't apply only to MAGAs and to Charlie Kirk. And now because she expressed that, she's getting death threats and stuff. But you know, it's funny how freedom of speech only applies to Republicans, but not to the other side. Give me a break, you know. But like I said, I didn't wish death upon the guy. I never said that. But like before I got off track, I said there are consequences for your actions, and he paid very dearly with his life. But I will say this, though, to close down this episode. Yes, there is disagreements. There is Democrat, Republican, independent, left wing, right wing. It doesn't matter, you know. I personally believe that there shouldn't be. Right now, we're living in very scary times, people. That I believe that it shouldn't just come that way. And I don't believe in killing. You know, killing is wrong, you know, because it is. And I didn't like what happened to Charlie Kirk. Yes, it sucks, you know. Because killing is wrong, you know. It's very, very wrong. But, you know, way before all this shit happened, you know, because, you know, I will get into this some other time, but I will say this. Right now, we're living in very scary times that we're so fucking divided that if you're this, they automatically label you. Like they label me. They say that I'm a Marxist-Leninist, when in reality that can be further from the truth. I have read the books of Marxism, Leninism. There are certain things I do not agree with. Like, everything has its pros and cons, ladies and gentlemen. Capitalism, Marxism, communism, etc. Everything has its pros and cons. But me personally, I believe that it should not come down this way to go around and just shooting people just because of what we believe in, you know. It's very, very wrong. But it all started with Trump when he started the whole thing with the birther conspiracy with President Obama. And it's funny how other people, the hardcore like Cat Turd, this some guy named Engelman saying that the United States was not divided until President Obama was president. Why? I don't know. It just really baffles me that they say that. Trump started it all when he started the whole birther conspiracy. He questioned the birth certificate of President Obama. That was the guy. He's the one who planted the seeds. And look what happened right now. It became this full blown thing that we're living in scary times. And it all started with that guy who's in power right now. And before that, it wasn't like that, ladies and gentlemen. I think that at the end of the day, I think we all should just have a seat and talk and be decent human beings, ladies and gentlemen. So that about wraps up for this special report. Let's be safe out there, ladies and gentlemen. Good night.